Hello, everyone, and welcome to Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts here on UGA Sports YouTube channel. I am Blaine Gilmer here with Jed May, and we're here once again live. His schedule got thrown off. Had some family stuff on yesterday. Monday night had a Christmas concert there. Jed for the boys. So had to go see what that was all about. Enjoyed that time. But now I get to talk a little Georgia football recruiting. So here on a Tuesday night, and there's a lot going on, a lot of questions that we're going to answer. But Jed, we're just keeping up with these guys. Visits coming up this weekend.
Yeah, we've been talking about this weekend for weeks. Who's going to show up this week, this weekend. Been telling y'all to keep an eye on it this week, and now it's finally here. We posted the early iteration, I guess, of the visitors list earlier today. Be adding to that throughout the week, and yeah, there's this weekend and then signing day next Wednesday. So busiest time of the year for us.
It's going to be very fluid when it comes to the visitors this upcoming weekend, and also when it comes on signing day. Georgia's working a lot of people from a different angles. A lot of names are going to pop up here as time goes on. Jed, Devon Campbell. Now people are talking about coming in on an official visit. We're reaching out to him for comments and what's going on. I mean, it's a guy from Texas. I know Todd Munkin was in the state of Texas recruiting today. So we'll see what ends up happening with guys like that. Also, people are asking questions about wide receiver. In the secondary, of course, after that performance from Georgia this past Saturday, of course, always looking to improve the secondary. So there's a lot of key targets remaining, edge rusher, linebacker, that Georgia are going after in this class, and we will address all of those things. But Jed, just kind of real quick before we get into some of these questions, who've you been talking to? What does it kind of look like coming up this weekend? Some things that we can kind of throw right off the top there that we've discovered here over the last couple of days.
Well, we found out there's going to be a lot of commits that have waited to use their official visits until this weekend to be in town with these other guys: Marquise Groves Killebrew, Malachi Starks, Griffin Scroggs, CJ Washington from Cedartown. Those guys are going to be in town. Just that Bear Alexander's going to be here as well. Don't know if he is an official or not. But as far as uncommitted guys, Shamar James is going to be here. We reported Marvin Jones is going to be here. Blaine, like you mentioned, Devin Campbell is kind of up in the air right now. So there's going to be a lot of uncommitted guys here, but I think something that's standing out is there's going to be a lot of committed guys that seemingly have, been storing up this official. I mean, these guys have been committed for months when you look at the Starkses and the Groves Killebrews of the world. So this is a weekend they've had circled for a while, last weekend for early signing day, and now it's time to go to work for them.
No doubt. And, these coaches are out on the road. And one thing that I think has been a trend, Jed, and is something that maybe has not necessarily been as common is Kirby Smart himself and all these other coaches are making intentional time to go spend with guys already committed. Of course, coaches will go, but Kirby's making sure to hit a lot of these commits himself. Really thinking that he is very happy with the class that he has and wants to, retain that class, make sure that everything stays intact there. Going to see a lot of guys like, Julian Humphrey out on the road that they were there. Saw him, going to see, Michael Williams, him and Dan Lanning and Dell McGee. That's a powerful, trio of recruiters going right there and paying you attention in a home visit. Trey Scott went out and saw Sean Washington, one of the newest Georgia commits from New Orleans. So there's a lot going on when it comes to these coaches hitting the road. There's people asking questions, and we'll address them here on Todd Munkin. There were people asking questions about Dan Lannon. There were people asking questions about Cortez Hankton. We'll address all those, but safe to say, Jed, that they're kind of leaving no stone unturned right now. Guys that they can get in-home visits with, they're going to do it. They're securing the commits, and then they're looking elsewhere as well, even multiple classes out.
Right. I was putting together a story this morning just where they've been. It seemed like the early part of this week, Sunday, Monday, was a lot of those commits, and Branson Robinson was on that list. And, they went to go see Branson Robinson yesterday. And I spoke with Branson's dad, and he just said, Del McGee wants to reinforce, come to a positive place where there's positive people and everything's going to work itself out. So I feel like that's a lot of what the coaches are saying to these commits. Just basically not necessarily a sales pitch, because these guys are already committed, but just reaffirming, hey, this is the place you need to be. We're looking forward to getting you on campus. A lot of these guys are signing early, and Sean mentioned, I guess it was last week when we had him on. He's going to be here for bowl practice. So just that last little, like you said, tightening things up, getting these commits secured, and then moving on to those uncommitted guys that they're trying to add, Ernest Green, Drew Bobo, all those kind of guys.
Yeah, and I think one thing about it here, Jed, is that there's been a uncharacteristically active coaching carousel. Like, not just, there's always coaching changes, but there's been coaching changes at marquee brands in college football. So these guys are coming in here, and it's a mad scramble for them to try to fortify their first class, so to speak, in the waning weeks, days, hours of the signing period. They're trying to make a splash. So what better than try to go to a program and maybe poach one of a Georgia or an Alabama or one of those type programs commits, right? So that's why I think Kirby Smart and the coaching staff is being so intentional about going and spending that quality time with the guys already committed there. Georgia does have the number one ranked rivals recruiting class in the class of 2022 and 2023 right now. So definitely in 2022, they want to keep what they've already got intact. And then going on from there, like you said, there'll be some gaps to fill in. People always also need to remember that not everyone is signing it. It seems like everybody signs on December 5th, but there's still targets out there like Shamar Stewart, who he was tweeting about about Georgia today. I mean, he tweeting about Texas A&M. There's lots of schools, there's been some trend of him towards Texas A&M undoubtedly, but Georgia has not stopped recruiting him or reaching out to him. Georgia wants to get a key edge prospect, Marvin Jones, right there. They visited him in home last week, Jed. Even before the SEC championship game, Dan Lannon was down there visiting Marvin Jones Jr. before that game. So that tells you what kind of priority target that he is. And like you said, Georgia's expecting him to make a official visit this weekend, the 10th through the 12th. And it's just going to be very, very interesting to see, who ends up showing up this weekend, because undoubtedly, as much as you and I are talking to sources and also calling these prospects themselves, there's going to be guys that are off the radar that show up. So everybody needs to expect the unexpected as it comes up here to this last week. But Georgia is certainly, in a good spot with this class, with high profile guys like a Kamari Wilson, right? And then on the secondary, who, in my opinion, Jed, Kamari Wilson may be the most impactful recruit remaining out there in the class of 2022, because I think he's right now, you look at the defensive back commits that Georgia has, extremely talented, right? Jaheim Singletary, a shutdown corner. Marquise Groves-Killebrew tore his ACL, but he's a shutdown type corner. Malachi Starks, great, kind of Swiss Army knife defensive back, can do a lot of different things. He's played that star hybrid type role, done a lot of things. Julian Humphreys, super fast, but Kamari Wilson's the one that is that true safety, and could be a guy that can make an impact really early next year.
Right, and Ja'Cory Thomas as well, kind of like Malachi Starks, more of a star-ish, type player. But you look at Kamari Wilson, like you said, true safety, and that's what Georgia's going to need. If Lewis Cine leaves, Chris Smith, a senior, so there's a lot of opportunity to, theoretically start, right? You come in and earn that starting job, or at the very least be in the rotation. So, yeah, I put that in my piece today as well. I think he is the most important uncommitted target left on the board, just because, like you said, A, he's a true safety, and B, that's kind of the area Georgia's going to need to shore up, in this class.
No doubt. And as we're going right here, Jed just got a tweet out that Camden Brown, a 3-star receiver out of Aquinas, he's sharing his in-home visit picture right here with Cortez Hankton. So said he had a great visit there with Cortez Hankton. Camden Brown, depending on where you're getting your measurements from, 6'3", 6'4", upwards of 200 pounds. So a big body type receiver. Actually have a little film of him, Jed, that I'm going to play over here. But Jed, while I'm getting that film shared up on the screen here, just, your thoughts right now on wide receiver. I know that's been a hot topic over on the vault. Today, especially, I posted an update this morning. People weren't exactly, thrilled with what was said on there, but hey, you got to deliver the facts, whether they're, good for Georgia, bad for Georgia, however it goes. But just wanted your opinion right now on the wide receiver position and kind of what's going on in that area.
Yeah, that's kind of the area that's the big question mark. I mean, I think, on the one hand, because I saw a lot of people in that thread, Blaine, that you posted earlier today saying, oh, no one's going to want to come to Georgia because they're knowing Stetson Bennett's going to be the guy. Okay, one, no one knows if that's going to be the case next year to begin with. Number two, if it is, Stetson's going to be here one more year, I think. I think he's next year, his 10th year of eligibility will finally be his last one. So, but on the flip side of that, I mean, I think there is something to the argument of, you look at Georgia's receivers numbers in the past, and Georgia's got what, 1,000-yard receiver ever. I mean, Alabama
Ever.
those guys. I don't know if this was like an actual legitimate stat or not, but someone said on the board today, Alabama has more 1,000-yard receivers this season than Georgia has in the past 50 years. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't research that, but the fact that I had to consider it to begin with just lends some credence to that thought. So, it's one of those things where all you guys that are wringing your hands at the moment, I really don't know what else to tell you other than you got to trust the coach's evaluations. I mean, Jordan Davis is that classic example, right, of a guy that worked out. Camden Brown, I mean, y'all are watching this film. He's a big body guy. He's at St. Thomas Aquinas, a big,
goes and gets the ball, Jed. That's
right.
the thing when I'm watching this film. He's aggressive with the ball in the air. I think maybe the reason that guys, fall to that maybe 3-star level, Camden Brown, maybe when he tested early at a camp or a verified time, something like that, doesn't have this blazing speed. He's in the high 4.5s, but the guy knows how to run routes. He knows how to find space. He goes up and gets the ball, catches it away from his body, as you can see here on the film. And he's played in a winning program. Georgia, as you can see, Cortez Hankton right now is in his home there tonight as we speak. So he's there recruiting him. Of course, Isaiah Bond did commit to Alabama tonight, so that is one. He committed to Florida early on. Now he's flipped over his commitment over to Alabama. But you've got not only Camden Brown that Georgia's continuing to look at, but you have Squirrel White, Marquarius White, who visited for the Charleston Southern weekend. A 5'8", like 160-pound guy that can absolutely fly in the slot. So kind of a contrast in styles there between a Camden Brown and a Marquarius White. But, these guys can play, much like Adonai Mitchell was a 3-star prospect and ended up paying dividends for Georgia when the injury bug hit. He was able to step up. So I think one thing is definitely there can be a knock on Georgia and the staff saying they haven't been able to bring in the 5-star elite receiver right out of high school, right? But I think they've done to your point, an excellent job of evaluating the guys that they're going after and seeing guys who have that capability in them and being able to develop that. Lad McConkey scored a touchdown in the SEC championship. If anybody had told me before the year that Lad McConkey was going to score a touchdown in the SEC championship game, I would have either said, well, how far is Georgia up in the game or whatever, because, you wouldn't expect that. You thought the names would have been George Pickens and Jermaine Burton and things like that, but he's come along and proved himself. So you do have to give credit for that, but there's definitely room to knock for not being able to, pull in the Luther Burdens of the world, right? Being able to go get an Evan Stewart, somebody like that. Georgia missed out on those guys. There's no other way to put it. They did not land them. But at the same time, overall, they had the number 1 recruiting class in both 2022 and 2023. It's people, you can cherry pick all day long on certain positions and things like that. But here's like I said, as the film, you see a comeback route, you've seen vertical routes, you've seen him being able to control and one-on-one matchups. So Camden Brown is a prospect to definitely keep your eye on, as Georgia did an in-home visit with him tonight. So got that. They're working hard on Squirrel White. But the deal is there, Jed. We say nobody's ever really on the table until they decommit, right, from the places they're at. So Squirrel White still committed to Tennessee at this moment in time. Camden Brown has already decommitted a few days ago from a little while back from Pittsburgh, where he was originally committed, and now Georgia in home with him tonight. So that's kind of what's going on with the wide receiver position. And Jed, there's also some portal movement going on, and with those coaching changes we talked about earlier, there's guys exiting and leaving, and we've got questions on that. So I'll actually hold off on that for a while. But just in general, Jed, before, naming any specific guys here, there's going to be a lot of movement, not only between now and signing day, but between now and probably the end of January, as all the college football playoffs and the bowl games and all that wrap up. There's going to be guys making decisions to, move on to greener pastures.
Right. And you mentioned the coaching carousel earlier. What's so crazy is it's not like the Notre Dame situation where, okay, a coordinator is promoted. There's, USC poaches Oklahoma's coach and then poaches Clemson's defensive coordinator, who's one of the highest paid assistants, and LSU grabs Notre Dame's. I mean, it's head coaches of major programs that are moving. And, Mario Cristobal goes to Oregon. And it seems like every time, one of these guys that leaves, you see a stream of commits over the next few hours tweeting, the emoji or the eyeballs, like all those guys start trickling in. You wonder, I mean,
Clemson and guys on the current roster.
Right. Too. Right. I mean, Clemson loses a commitment from Keon Sabb yesterday or day before. LSU, I know you said we were going to mention these guys, but Max Johnson entering the portal.
Yeah. With Keon Sabb, we can't touch on him. Adam Freeman of Rivals reporting that Georgia has very much so been in conversations with Keon Sabb since that decommitment, and also kept in touch with him, as he was committed to Clemson still, which Georgia, if there's one thing Georgia does, if they miss out on the guy commits elsewhere, Georgia does a very good job of maintaining that relationship, because you never know what's going to happen either down the road via the transfer portal or coaching change, like we saw with Brent Venables leaving there at Clemson, and some guys deciding to get back out on the market. So it is very interesting to see there. Guys, did want to mention that before we get to our questions here, this show is presented by Dead Soxy. Make great quality socks that make great Christmas gifts. Christmas coming up, all that kind of stuff. They've got they've got Georgia brand. They've partnered with 7-6 Apparel over there, where you can get like the Herschel Walker digitized like Tecmo Bowl type player on the socks. They've got the great technology in them where they're not going to slip down off the calves, things like that. I've got a few pairs of them. They are very, very comfortable socks, and you need to hit up Dead Soxy because they have great deals. They've done up to 56% discounts. They've done buy one get one deals. So always check out on UGASports when you log into the website or come over to the website. Dead Soxy, just be looking on those banners, because sometimes they have some really good deals that they hook us up with. So very, very interesting to see, Jed, some of these developments like you talked about with coaching searches, with transfer portal. But with that being said, we're going to get into our questions, because there are some out here that people are dying to get answered. And guys, we answer the questions of all the members on the UGA Sports Vault first, and then of course we if we have time, we hit the YouTube questions after that. So Jed, hit us with that first one there.
From Rarburger dog. It looks like something from
Warm
Wales.
Springs, I think. Warm Springs dog.
Oh, Warm Springs. Okay. Warm Springs with no vowels. Shorten. Okay, gotcha. How bad will the quote unquote fallout from Saturday night SEC championship game loss be?
Well, I listened when a college football Hall of Famer speaks. I listen, and Jim Donnan today said, "Listen, it's one game, and guys that were going to Alabama probably were already going to Alabama. Guys that are going to go to Georgia this close to signing day were already leaning towards going to Georgia. I think that sure, there's always momentum and things like that, and what that momentum though may do, it may earn you a visit, right, or it may earn you, a opportunity to get in home or things like that. But I don't think it's going to be the final selling point, because Jed, you and I, we talked to a lot of these young prospects. I think people don't give them credit enough for a lot of them being so self-aware and understanding that, they have to do what's best for them as a whole, not just go off the result of a game or something like that. They're looking at the depth chart that's there. They're looking at the coaching structure that's there. They're trusting those relationships that they've built, things like that. So there's a lot more than goes into it than one result of a football game.
Right. I mean, some of these kids, even beyond a game, I remember asking kids in the summer, does the on-field match fall? And they're like, no, not really. It's like you said, step chart. It's more than that. And the thing is, about one game, if you're a program, you can sell it both ways, right? If you win, you're like, hey, we're number one, or I guess in this specific case, we're number one, we're the SEC champions, whatever. But I think it was either you or Trent, I think, mentioned this on the board. If you lose, then you go on home with these recruits and say, hey, you're the missing piece. We need to get over the top, right? If you're Kamari Wilson, you hear Jamil Adai say, hey, next year you could have been the safety that's preventing those big plays to the Jameson Williamses of the world. I mean, you can sell it both ways when it's one game, especially a game of that magnitude. So, like you said, all things considered, I don't think one game makes that much of a difference. Although there is little things like possible visits and all the kind of stuff that come into play with that.
Yeah, and there's several different ways to look at it, several different ways to split it up and attack it. Like you said, Jed, when you get those visits and you're a coach, you can go different ways, and I think that's a great point on that. So let's go ahead and hit the next one here.
UGA Farm Dog. Shout out to the UGA Pharmacy School. I got a cousin that's starting pharmacy school next semester. Which players on UGA's current roster who are considering going pro early or transferring to another school will be most important for the coaching staff to recruit to come back?
Okay, so I think most everybody on the defense is gonna be gone. I really do. I don't think you're gonna be recruiting a lot of those guys back, except maybe Nolan Smith is a guy that hasn't maybe reached his full potential there. And even you could point to the game, on Saturday, not having as much of an impact as Nolan probably would have liked to have had. And he could be a guy that Georgia recruits to come back. George Pickens, a guy, does he feel confident enough to say, all right, I'm going to go test the waters NFL, or do I want to come back and have another full season under me? Things of that nature. It'll be interesting to see what George does, what his draft grades are after the injury, coming back, all that kind of stuff. That would be a interesting thing to do. But as far as speculating guys transferring out, that's just not something we're gonna do. We're not gonna say, hey, this guy is probably gonna leave. That's just too kind of personal of a decision. Let those guys announce what they're going to do, and quite frankly, a lot of those guys, Jed, are still going through that decision making process as they see how the postseason plays out here, as they go through bowl practices, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a team that's just Ole Miss, for example, off the top of my head, Ole Miss playing in the Sugar Bowl, players can kind of look beyond that. But if you're these guys on this Georgia team, you're playing for a national championship, right? I mean, this is the reason you're here, is to play in these playoff games. And now you're 3 weeks away or whatever from doing just that. So I think, like you said earlier, it's going to be interesting to watch maybe Georgia and Michigan and Alabama and Cincinnati later in January, once the playoff is over and the dust settles there and all those kind of things.
Yeah, that's when it'll start hitting for those four, and then maybe whichever two teams get eliminated early, as on December 31st, it could happen even sooner, of course. So that is the deal about the transfer going out there. Dylan 99 says, is the idea of Georgia taking two quarterbacks still a possibility? I don't know if they've I know they've been heavily involved with Robbie Roper, and now Tanner Bailey, excuse me, I can't read, is back on the market, and we're heavily involved with him before. So Georgia was heavily involved with Tanner Bailey, but that was, I think that was before the decommitment of Gunnar Stockton from South Carolina. Even that was a long ways back. So Tanner Bailey has now decommitted from Oregon. So it will be interesting. He's from Gordo, Alabama. He's not far from. I don't know that Georgia's going to be highly keen on taking 2 scholarship quarterbacks in this class. Who knows? I do know that Robbie Roper had a unbelievable year in 7A and definitely caught the attention of the Georgia staff. They had him on campus. They've talked to him several times, stayed in contact with him. So, we'll see what happens there. I think that would be something, if something transpired there, Jed, it would be closer to signing day.
Yeah, that, and like you said, it might be more of a for walk-on type of situation, especially just with the limited amount of spots left, and there's so many guys that could theoretically end up wanting to be or in this class at other positions, right? With you got Marvin Jones and Shamar Stewart at edge, you got Kamari Wilson, you got defensive linemen, all this kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of potential dominoes left to fall. Now, if there's a free scholarship at the end, maybe it goes to a Robbie Roper or somebody like that. But I would think at this moment it would kind of lean more towards a preferred walk on or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think nobody knows how many of these transfer spots they're going to need, right,
Right.
Jed?
Because
Because
yeah,
there will be some guys undoubtedly leave Georgia's program. I mean that's just how it goes in the era of the transfer portal, right? They're gonna, like you said, nobody's gonna leave right now, Jed, and miss out on the chance of possibly having the national championship ring, things like that, because they're still in the thick of it. Whatever they want to do right now, they have that in front of them. But I would think once the season comes to a close, whenever that is, that's when you're going to see some of the defections out. And then how many spots does Georgia have? You get up to 7, a 1-for-1 type trade off there with the new NCAA rule. Jed got another one here talking about those wide receivers like we did earlier.
yeah. This Roxy82 says the recent updates on Isaiah Bond and Chas Preston were disappointing. Do you think that is on some level a direct result of Saturday's game? What is our recruiting pitch to top receiver targets?
Well, in terms of Bond and Preston, they were picking up momentum, with Alabama before
Right.
the visit. Bond was being driven around by Nick Saban while he was still a still a Florida commit back in the summer. So those seeds were planted a long time ago with Bond, and now and Chaz Preston. He visited the Alabama LSU game. He didn't end up making a visit to a Georgia game, so they had the kind of leg up there. And he wasn't able to get into town on those. So that experience, seeing Alabama, even though there was a game they struggled in, getting to see them, hold on to one there at the end, that could have helped him out a little bit. And now he's taking an official visit this weekend, which was already set before the SEC championship. That was kind of in works there too. So I'm not sure how much Saturday had to do with that, but obviously didn't hurt with Jameson Williams tearing it up, and obviously Mechie before he went down with his ACL. So yes, there is a balance there of on the field results and things like that. But Jed, like we said, there's these relationships being built and things like that over time. But with Shaz Preston, you got to worry about LSU too. Of course, Brian Kelly's coming in there. He's building a staff, but he brought Frank Wilson in, who was there at LSU before. The family's familiar with Frank Wilson, so there's talks that could have a impact on his recruitment there. Plus, he's a Louisiana guy as well. And then, Jed, you talked about it. I mean, if you're a receiver coach at Georgia or a quarterback coach or anybody talking to a receiver, what's kind of your pitch right now? What are you saying to these guys?
I mean, I think the pitch has to be right. I mean, you could be the guy that comes here and changes not change the program, but change how Georgia receivers are thought of. I think which it's so crazy to think of that being the pitch with a program like Georgia. But we mentioned a minute ago, 1,000-yard receiver ever. which is insane to think about. But I think that's got to be the pitch to these guys. You come here, you be the number one. I think the success of George Pickens has shown what this offense can be and do with a number one receiver, a bona fide number one receiver anyway. I just think that's got to be the pitch, other than the typical, Georgia's great, campus is cool, downtown's awesome, whatever. I think that's got to be the extra, twist on the pitch is you could be the guy that comes here, set records, change how Georgia receivers are thought of, and make this passing game more dynamic than it's been in years past. I think that's, and I'm sure that's brought up in some of these conversations, but I think that's something I got to lean heavily into, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I agree as well, and I think that they do have to show some more, explosivity in their offense. I mean but that's something that Kirby Smart relentlessly talks about. Saying they want to be explosive, things like that. But he also talks about being balanced and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if Georgia will ever be the type that throws it, on purpose 60% of the time. They may end up having to, kind of like they did in the SEC championship game when they fell behind and didn't go to plan. But I don't know if the plan for Georgia will ever be to be, unbalanced, so to speak, and be more of a pass happy offense, on purpose. But we'll see what ends up happening. I think you just have to keep chipping away at it, right, and find those guys that somebody who buys into the. Ultimately, it's got to fit your program and your vision and what you're wanting out there. So Georgia, it's not like they haven't been trying to recruit those 5-star guys. It's not really been hidden. But people also discount, I think, Jed, at the wide receivers. They do have guys like Denylon Morissette and Dylan Bell in this class that I think are criminally underrated, because Denylon Morissette is a physical, tough receiver that has got a big frame, can very strong hands, is able to do a lot of things after the catch. And Dylan Bell is electrifying. He can do a lot of different things very, very quick, and dangerous after the catch.
Yeah, and Cole Spear too. I watched Cole Spear play Blitz Trinity on Friday night, and the kid, I'm telling you, people think he's just a 4.38 40 or whatever he ran at that camp, but he's a guy, he likes getting down and dirty. He likes getting physical. He doesn't mind blocking. He's a pretty big guy, for his speed. And I talked to him, I'm gonna have a story on it tomorrow, but I talked to him and he's like, or I told him, how much pride do you take in your blocking? And he said, a lot. That's something I've really worked hard at. So I think he's a guy that, people might be discounting him just because they see that 40 time and they think that's all they can do. But I think he's a guy that, could work his way into the rotation at some point.
Absolutely. So we've got a question here from DIH 1727. Lots of notes on coaches doing in-home visits, very players. Monken noticeably absent. Does this imply that he's not an active part of the recruitment process? Something else? Just means that he wasn't taking pictures where he went, because Monken was in Texas and he was checking on class of 2024 quarterbacks, Dylan Raiola, DJ Lagway. They offered DJ Lagway today through his coaching staff, of course, because Monken and nobody at Georgia can have direct contact with the class of 2024 in person right now, even during this contact period. So Monken was there visiting the coaching staffs of Lagway and the coaching staff of Dylan Raiola at Burleson there, Lagway at Willis High School. Both are tremendous dual threat quarterbacks. I mean, guys that are running in the 4.4, 4.5 range and are big bodied guys too. Jed, when you talk about Dylan Raiola, 6'3", 215 pounds plus, maybe 4.4 40, can throw the ball a mile from different arm angles. I mean, he is the most naturally gifted quarterback that I have seen since Deshaun Watson at the high school level. I mean, he is that kind of talent, and Georgia is all over him. Of course, as it indicates with Monken going to see his coaching staff, but he told me today that he calls, because Kirby and them can't call him until he's September 1st of his junior year, but he calls Kirby Smart. He calls Buster Faulkner on the regular, right? I mean, he's calling Kirby every couple of weeks. He's calling Buster Faulkner, texting Buster Faulkner, making the contact with them. So I think that bodes well for not only Georgia, but if Todd Munkin's out there recruiting 2024s, that should kind of tell you his mindset kind of going forward right now.
Right, right, and yeah, and it's one of those things where, okay, we look at 2023, there's some kid named Arch Manning who's at the top of the list. Georgia misses out on him, which is very possible, because every school in the country is gonna be on the kid.
It is, but I think Georgia has to like the way things are going right there with Quinn Ewers in the transfer portal, and I think a lot of people are pulling for old Sarkisian to land Quinn Ewers, because that may be. I'm not saying Arch Manning would be scared of anybody, but Quinn Ewers is a little bit of a different talent there over there, and that could help Georgia's chances a lot if he ends up at Texas.
Right, and, if something happens and Arch goes to Texas or Ole Miss or, I don't know, New Mexico State, wherever, there's Dylan Raiola and DJ Lagway in 24. There's Julian Lewis, a guy we've talked about. It's way down the road.
2026.
Right. But point is, it's not the end of the world if Arch Manning goes somewhere else, is what I'm saying. There's very talented guys, obviously in the 23 class as well, but 24.
2022 class, Gunnar Stockton. I mean, he's there. He's there out there. Brock Vandegrift. So eventually, law of averages, right? One of these quarterbacks is going to pan out and absolutely be a home run hit for Georgia. I know a lot of people that's the last thing they want to hear right now with whatever their opinion is on Georgia's quarterback situation, but it's going to happen at some point. Even another more sore subject, Jed. Some people, they may or may not want to watch the New York Giants this weekend with Jake Fromm making his first NFL start over there. So lots of interesting Georgia quarterback talk that will be going on, not only this weekend in the NFL, but going all the way throughout Christmas. It's going to be a holly jolly Christmas, Jed, as talking about Georgia quarterback situation leading into the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, the good thing is that Georgia quarterbacks are in no way polarizing or creating a bitter debates or anything. There will be no heated discussions about this on Christmas around the dinner table as people get ready for the Orange Bowl, I'm sure.
It's very tranquil. It's nice and peaceful, all that. Crokin 1, 2, 3. Any way to save wide receiver recruiting without either improving the pass game or firing some coaches or hiring elite wide receiver coaches to replace them? And what can be done to show that the staff isn't and it cut off right there? But Crokin, we're not going to talk about coaches being hired and fired. One, that's their livelihood. They have families, all that kind of stuff. So we'll let that stuff play out. If that were to happen, if there's something going on in terms of somebody leaving to go elsewhere, you can guarantee that Kirby Smart is going to do everything he can to fill it with someone who will recruit their tail off, because that is one thing that Kirby Smart demands out of all of his coaches, right, Jed? He wants people to always be recruiting and going out, and people can't say that Cortez Hankton hasn't been doing everything he can to land these guys. It's just there's a lot of, be honest with you, there's a lot of negative recruiting that goes on against Georgia, maybe some of their own fault when it comes to the receiver game, style of offense, things like that. But Cortez Hankton, I mean, he made the trip down to Louisiana during the season to go see, Shaz Preston and all that kind of stuff. It's not like they're not trying every way they can. It's just it hasn't been going, whether it's style of offense or whatever you may like with pulling in these receivers.
Yeah, and I think something people that maybe is getting not swept under the rug, whatever, but Kirby is a guy that evaluates every aspect of this program on field. I mean, y'all have heard him say it in press conferences 1,000 times when he gets asked about the quarterbacks. We evaluate things day by day. That goes to recruiting too. I mean, Kirby's not an idiot. He knows all these top receiver targets: Andre Green, Luther Burden, Kojo, Chaz, if he ends up going somewhere else. He knows that they haven't hit on these top guys. So that's something in the off-ish season, whatever, going forward. He's going to look at, okay, what is our recruiting pitch to receivers? How can we tweak it? How can we twist it? How can we make ourselves more appealing? So that's something, every aspect of this program is under constant evaluation, I think, and that extends to recruiting and certainly the wide receiver aspect of that too.
No doubt. We'll try to go more rapid fire on some of these other ones here. Drew Yang, if Stetson Bennett stays for another year, do you think we'll lose Vandegrift or Stockton in the portal? How many of our remaining offensive targets do you think we finish with? Well, first, Jed, I think you got to define offensive target, who those are at this point. Like we said, Isaiah Bond now off the off the market, committed to Alabama. Shaz Preston's still out there. Squirrel White's still out there. Camden Brown is now emerged as a target. Jed, I mean, Jake Johnson, Max Johnson's younger brother he just decommitted from LSU. He's a tight end that is in Georgia's backyard at Oconee County. Who knows? I mean, every program out there is going to be interested in Max and Jake Johnson because as they come out there, I mean, every major program is going to be interested in those caliber of guys via the transfer portal, and now having decommitted. DeColdis Crawford decommits from LSU. Georgia was in with it on him. So as these coaching changes take place, these targets, so it's hard to say how many of the remaining offensive targets they're going to finish with, because the targets are literally changing by the hour when it comes to that. I think one thing, Jed, is Georgia's secure at running back. They visited Branson Robinson and Jordan James with InHome Visits. So I don't think you have to worry at running back. They've got the quarterback in Gunnar Stockton. Offensive line, that's really kind of where the most play is, right? Because they've got Oscar Delp at the tight end position. Who knows with Ernest Green? Who knows with Drew Bobo, now that Mike Bobo is no longer there? Could Drew Bobo be someone that Georgia looks at again? So now we've got Devin Campbell potentially coming in for an official visit this weekend. So the offensive targets are literally changing at the minute. Jed, I don't think that if Stetson Bennett comes back for another year, I don't think you're in danger of seeing Vandergriff hit the portal this early, or Stockton. Maybe some of the other quarterbacks, the two other older quarterbacks, but I don't think you would lose those two.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, and who knows, right? I mean, people are making all their jokes about Stetson and Kirby's favoritism, all that blah, blah, blah. But Stetson could come back and simultaneously lose out on the job. It seems impossible for people to think that right now, but that's possible.
Nobody would have thought JT Daniels would have lost out on the job this year. So
exactly. So and again, Stetson could leave. Stetson and JT could leave. All 7 quarterbacks could leave. Who knows? Like with the transfer portal and the quarterback situation, I don't know. Maybe I'm just spending too much time on the bench. I don't know, but you don't really know at this point. All you can do is sit back and watch and get your popcorn out and all that kind of stuff. But to get back to what your question, no, I don't know that Stetson's coming back would have any impact on. I mean, maybe Vandegrift more so than Gunnar, just because he's a year older. Maybe
definitely not Gunnar.
But yeah, definitely not Gunnar. Right.
Big Dog, just in your opinion, will Eric Gilbert ever play for Georgia? It's hard to tell. That's a personal matter. We're not going to go too deeply into that. Current status on Don Blalock on-field progression. Does Tyreek Smith return next season for Georgia? Yes, Tyreek Smith and his family are very – everything I've got, they're very grateful for what Georgia's, done for him in terms of the medical work and all that kind of stuff. I mean, just an unfortunate situation for him. Jed, I haven't heard too much on Don Blalock other than he's cleared, he's ready to go. It's now just that mental, hurt. Okay, when's he going to feel like himself? But medically cleared, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Kirby said it a bunch. It's not a matter of you snap your fingers, right, or check a box, and he's back to his old self in terms of playing time. He's got to get confidence back, especially with his situation with the multiple ACL tears. So. And then having a hamstring on top of that. I mean, you talk about confidence injuries. Hamstring is certainly right up there at the top. So, but yeah, like you said, he's cleared. We've seen him on the field some. It's just a matter of confidence and getting back healthy and working his way into. I mean, this receiver room, even with all the injuries, there's guys stepped up. A.D. Mitchell, Ladd McConkey, George Pickens is back healthy now.
Harris Jackson's still there,
right? There's a lot, and Marcus Rosemy-Jackson as well. So there's a lot of guys kind of battling for those reps. So it's not a matter of. Because George Pickens, right? I mean, when George Pickens gets cleared, George Pickens is going to get his reps, right? Bearing confidence stuff. But Don Blalock is kind of in that next group of guys that's kind of all battling for that playing time. So he's cleared. We'll just have to, wait and see if he gets more confidence and plays more of a factor in the playoffs.
Gilbert Peterson, which commits in the signing class do you think will make great team leaders 3-4 years from now? Well, number one is Jalen Walker. Yes. He could run for president tomorrow, and I'd vote for Jalen Walker. He's that kind of a diplomatic young man, very astute, very knowledgeable, raised by a college football coach and his dad. So knows the game, knows how to handle himself. Jalen Walker will be a leader for this class. Anybody else jump out to you, Jed, as a leader?
I mean, you kind of always have got to circle the quarterback, right? I mean, that's obvious. I think Julian Humphrey, another guy, he's very vocal on Twitter, obviously, but another guy that just seems very gregarious and charismatic, that could lead the way in this class. And you look at those offensive guys, maybe Denylon Morissette as well. I would think
Yeah.
he's a guy that talks to a lot of these recruits and everything.
Denylon and Julian are kind of like they're kind of the hype guys, right? They're getting out there and getting out in front. I think when you talk about pure leadership, I think you talk about more like Jalen Walker and Malachi Starks. I think Malachi Starks is a guy who he's going to be very quiet, but he's going to lead by example, maybe in a Kobe Dean type fashion. A very, a young man that already you can tell loves the University of Georgia already, and is going to give maximum effort every time he's out there in every situation. Jed, we got one from Mickey P here.
Yeah, it says, how are things looking with Shamar James?
So Shamar James, Jed, you got an update from him today. Tell everybody what's going on with Shamar.
Yeah, I spoke with Shamar. He is visiting Athens this weekend. This is his official visit. This weekend I'd seen on the ball. People had kind of thought he was going somewhere else. He is coming. I got it straight from him. So if he goes somewhere else, I was lied to, just like the rest of you. But no, he's gonna. I mean, and that we talked about in-home visits. He got an in-home from Glenn Schumann today, I believe, and he also got one from Glenn Schumann last week as well. So 2 in-home visits in a week, plus an official visit to Athens this weekend. Georgia's pushing hard for a guy that's a newly minted 5-star on Rivals. He made a big jump in the new 2022 rankings that came out today. So just another very talented defensive guy to add to this class potentially.
Yeah, I know Glenn Schumann was there last week. I think some other coaches probably went down to go see him today. But yeah, he's coming this weekend, and we'll see what happens there. Our last question, last word. Now, I will say this on Shamar James. I think it's a Georgia-Alabama race, right? I mean, I think Florida's trying to get back into it. I don't think they can make up that ground. I like where Georgia's at in that one heading into this weekend, especially. Last Warrior says, any smoke around potential portal names with OU, Oregon, UF, LSU, Clemson. Right now, kind of some of the guys that are already out there, the Oklahoma receivers, that's always something you got to look at. Jaden Hazelwood's already landed at Arkansas. Georgia tried to get in on that one, but with Jimmy Smith already being his former high school coach there when he was at Cedar Grove, that was a hard nut to crack right there. Jed, when it comes to that. Like I said, Oregon lost Tanner Bailey. Don't know if Georgia would get involved there or not. LSU, I think, is the one, and we don't have to go through all the names again, but you do have the Johnson, both the Johnson guys, DeColdis Crawford. There's going to be more that enter the portal over there. As Brian Kelly, he can rub some people the wrong way, his personality, and he's going to clean house a little bit and bring in guys he wants in there. So it'll be interesting to see. Clemson, they got Darren Kendrick this past offseason. We'll see how many guys want to end up leaving. As you mentioned, Keon Sabb, decommit right there. But portal names, not sure who will leave from there. But, Jed, that's kind of all of the questions we got there. Do you got anything you want to leave people with? I know you said you got a story coming on Cole Spear tomorrow on the Vault.
Yeah, story on Cole Spear, and just kind of what I was saying earlier. He's basically more than just a 40 time. That might be the headline I end up going with. But yeah, just stay tuned to the Vault, UGASports.com. Like I said, signing day is early signing day is 8 days away, and we'll have coverage of guys committing, guys signing, flipping, transferring, all that kind of stuff. You can find all of it on UGASports.com, and there might be a thread or two on the vent about Georgia's quarterbacks as well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there will be. We'll be back to our normal Monday slot on the 13th, and then 15th when signing day rolls around. I'm sure we'll have special coverage here for you. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything to do. Hit that subscribe button. Hit a like for us. Turn on notifications so you get notified every time there is live action here on the UGA Sports YouTube channel, and also subscribe to podcasts that are out there. The UGA Sports Live podcast is out there, and you can get it on all the available platforms that you listen to podcasts on. So for Jed May, I am Blaine Gilmer. This has been UGA Sports, Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts. We appreciate you for joining, and we will catch you next time, Monday the 13th, for our next episode.